Welcome back to the pod. We are celebrating Black History Month with our running backs coach, Aaron Prier. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You just spoke at the National Coalition of Minority Football Coaches. You were a keynote speaker, so tell us about that.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Alonzo Carter, he's one of my mentors, and he's on the, I think, chair committee or something like that. And he asked me to speak. He's been telling me I need to speak more and, talk in front of people and all those things just to get my name out there and to just get better practice at that stuff. So I jumped on the opportunity. Coach Ince allowed me to be able to go and was fully supportive of it. So I got a chance to speak in front of a good amount of people that I haven't gotten to do that before. There were some coaches in there that I used to play for, so that was pretty cool too. But, yeah, it was cool. It was in Washington, D.C., never been out there before, never spoke at one of those conventions. Just kind of done more Zoom clinics and small clinics there, so it was pretty good experience.
Before Gary jumps into some questions about what this month means to you specifically, tell us about why you wanted to become a coach.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't know I was able to be a coach initially. I didn't really see football going further than it did as far as being a player, and I didn't really know coaching was an option, especially at this level. I've had a lot of coaches impact me more at the youth level and high school level. I didn't really have that many people from where I'm from that did it beyond that. But once I went back to my old alma mater to become a GA, it became a little more real, like, oh, I can actually do this. And honestly, I went there initially just to kind of get my master's paid for. And then once I started coaching, it was like, oh, man, like I can make a career out of this. And that's kind of how it happened. Fell in love with it once I started doing it.
Yeah, well, we're lucky to have you.
Lucky to be here.
So you already kind of touched on a couple of things I'm going to ask you about. But as you know, representation is important. And so who were some leaders and mentors that have helped kind of shape your journey into coaching?
Yeah. Again, kind of going back to some of my youth coaches, a lot of those dudes, and my dad was one of them as well. He was always kind of one of my coaches growing up. And he also did a great job of not treating me like the coach's kid. Yeah. He kind of let everybody else coach me. Mm-hmm. But he still had a big impact. But, there's some coaches like Coach Ray and Coach Tito, a lot of coaches when I was growing up that showed different styles of coaching. And then so once I started coaching, I kind of implemented some of those things and then also kind of found my own way in how I wanted to coach guys and also make an impact to them and not just make it all about ball.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those coaches I really felt cared about me and looked out for me and wanted the best for me. So I kind of use that now with my players because I appreciated that growing up.
Yeah. I mean, eventually you're going to be done playing sports.
Right.
Those relationships are going to continue.
Huge. My favorite thing is getting those texts, the wedding invites and hey, coach, I'm having a baby. I love those. So, yeah.
Okay. So you kind of got to the point where you realized you could become a coach, but what made you want to become a coach?
Man, I think it kind of became addicting. For one, the sport itself has done so much for me. I started playing football when I was 8 and then really didn't stop until I was done playing in college. So once I realized I can kind of give back to the game the way that the game gave to me, man, I just wanted to take the opportunity to do that and to be able to impact those lives. Like I said, some of my favorite people, the most impactful people were my coaches.
Yeah.
So to be able to do the same thing for somebody else, and I try to be as good as I can with my faith, and I did feel like that was, which I didn't know, never knew that was a calling, but I did feel like that was an ability for me to serve God and to be the light, in that setting.
Yeah.
Be able to use football to be able to do that. So that's what made me want to do it. To be honest, I tried the corporate route, sucked. It was not fun. I didn't feel like I was making an impact. I couldn't really be myself. It was good money, but I felt like coaching gave me a little bit more purpose. So that's when I felt like, okay, man, and I can, make a living doing this, coaching ball and reaching lives. Like, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And some days it don't even feel like a job.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. No, seriously. That's why it's funny sometimes we complain about the stuff and it's like, dude, you get paid to do this.
Yeah.
But like this is pretty cool, man. This is pretty cool. So
Yeah.
yep.
So in a day and age where football kind of feels like a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have nicknames for all the guys. The guys always bring it up that you have individual nicknames. How important is it to make them feel like they're still individuals amongst, this big machine of college football?
Yeah, no, I think that's big. I think that's big. I know, again, I just kind of use my experience to kind of guide me on how I want to treat, the players and the guys. And it's not just my teammate or my position group, but I got nicknames for people in other position groups too, man, just because I want to come from a place of like, relatability. I don't want them to feel like I only care about them from an X's and O's standpoint. And it makes it a little bit easier to get after them when they know like it's coming from a place of love and it's not personal or anything like that. I actually want what's best for them. So, if I give them a nickname or some of them already have nicknames, they know where it's coming from. And it's good. I like to have fun too. There's a time and place. I'll bark at guys, but for the most part, like if we can have focused fun, like I'm gonna do that. Again, talking about being the light, like I love being the light. That's just kind of my personality. So, yeah.
Rayshawn Luke brought up that he's taken a lot from you from being a new father.
Yeah.
So talk about how you've instilled or why it's important for you to instill those characteristics as well.
I think if these guys leave here and the only thing I taught them how to do is run outside zone and mid zone and duo or whatever, then I failed. When we are in the recruiting process, we talk about, developing guys in every aspect. So that's what I want to do. I have a 3-year-old and his daughter is close to my son's age. And, sometimes we'll talk about some of those things and I try to give him advice, whether it's about structure and bedtime or, or just being intentional when you go home. Because a lot of times when I'm pouring into him, I'm talking to myself too, making sure I'm intentional when I go home, with my wife and son. And but telling him the same thing, like, there's a time because some of these guys are so invested in this game, which is great. Sometimes you got to step back and, like your daughter and your daughter's important too. Like when you go home, man, put that film down for a little bit because these guys, they'll watch film all day, but that stuff is important because he is a father. His daughter doesn't care about what he's doing on the field right now, cares that dad's home. So that stuff is super important.
So you still touching on a lot of different things as far as like leadership styles and things that have kind of shaped you into the person that you want to be now. But how has your identity, and I know you mentioned a little bit about your faith, but how has your identity kind of played a role in you developing your leadership style?
Yeah, I had to figure that out for a little bit, actually, when I first started coaching. Again, because it was pretty foreign as far as at that level. Mm-hmm. So I had an identity, or say this, I didn't know what my identity was in this coaching world. And I just remember being a young coach trying to figure out who I wanted to be, how was I supposed to coach, how do I approach players and things like that. And watching some of the guys around me, and I felt like even some of the coaches around me, I think they wanted me to maybe be like them. So I went through a phase where I'm like, oh, maybe I should try to be like them. Yep. Then I went to a phase where I'm like, I'm not them.
Yeah, that's not you.
That's not me. Mm-hmm. So, and it started to develop from there. I think once I realized, like, no, I could just be myself. I think that's really when I started to grow as a coach and find my identity. And,
yeah.
What does empowerment look like to you within your position group or in the locker room overall?
Explain that a little bit more.
Just like, I guess, empowering the athletes to be themselves and who they are and not conform as well.
Yeah. I think it starts in my meeting room. I really try to let everybody have a voice. I'm not like, hey, you're a freshman, be quiet, you can't talk. Not like that at all. Now, some of the guys might start feeling like that if guys are asking questions that are like, hey, okay, bro, like you're holding us up now. Some of the guys will get on them a little bit, but For the most part, I try to give the guys a voice just because we all deserve a voice. And I'd rather you ask me questions or, voice how you feel, tell me how you feel. And I might not like it. I might not agree with it all the time, but I want you to feel like you can speak up and speak your mind, and whether that's in a football sense or whether that's in whatever. And I try to tell those dudes, too, a lot of times, like, let me be the voice for you, too. Because I know some of these young guys, they might not know how to communicate effectively all the time. So I try to help them through that. I think there's a right and wrong, or there's a right way to do things, and there's a could be better way to do things and say things.
Why is it important for our student athletes to use their platform in that way?
Man, it's big. I mean, especially with social media now. I mean, they have so much influence if they want it, if they want to. I know a lot of guys, like, I don't even think Bryson has a profile picture right now, But there's some guys that will use their platform because they want to, maybe they want to bring awareness to things, or sometimes just to market themselves or whatever it is. But I think it's important if they want to. I don't think I don't ever force these guys to post or anything like that. But if they want to, they have a following. They have people that actually care what they have to say, which is cool. So, I'm all for it, especially if it's something positive. I do talk to those dudes about watching what you post on there, though, too. Yeah. You don't want to just put anything out there, because once it's out there, it's out there. So as long as they're going about it the right way, I think it's awesome that they have a voice and a platform that can reach a lot of people.
So you kind of mentioned some mentors that you've had in the past, but what are some opportunities that you've seen from, or have you seen the progress and opportunities for Black coaches now? And where are some areas that you think there's still some work that needs to be done in terms of other Black coaches?
Yeah, there's definitely can be more representation in some of those bigger roles, whether that's head coach or coordinators and, some of those roles like that. But it is cool to see some of those guys that are in those seats. Yeah. At one point there weren't any. Mm-hmm. Now we have a decent amount at the NFL, and then as well as D1 or college and things like that. So there can always be improvement, but we've come really far, and I'm hoping that it continues to improve. Mm-hmm. And then, I think that's where the improvement can be, just in some of those bigger
just
roles.
Providing more opportunities.
Right. Yep. And it isn't easy. It's hard to get there, period, whether you look like us or not. But I would definitely like to see a little more representation at that level.
Yeah.
How do you celebrate Black History Month?
Man, it's kind of funny. I do research. Okay. It's like this is like and I probably should do it more often, but I'll be honest, like in school, there's a lot of stuff they did not talk to us about. A lot of stuff we didn't talk about, and I'm still learning. I'm 30-something years old, and it's like, dang, I didn't even know that. So really, it kind of gives me a reminder to, like, look up some facts. In D.C., it was really cool. Like, me and Crystal, my wife, we got a chance to go to the African American History Museum, I think it was called, and there was a lot of stuff in there. I mean, it's 6 floors of history, and some of that stuff was heavy. And some of it was uplifting. It was like, man, look how far we've come. So I think Black History Month, how I celebrate it, is just learning more about Black history. Because, again, there's not a lot of things that were highlighted in the textbook. We kind of probably all watched the same Martin Luther King Jr. Movie growing up. When they roll in the TV, it's movie time. And, but outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot that we talked about with some of those things. So that's how I celebrate it.
If someone's looking to kind of start doing that research, are there any books or movies, documentaries that you've watched that were particularly impactful?
Not necessarily. The one that just stays in my head the most is the Martin Luther King Jr. Movie, just because I felt like we watched that at every school every year.
You talking about a little cartoon one?
Yeah, you know, they go through the TV and then And it was, and that one I just remembered every time I watched it, I felt like I was like learning more as I was getting older. That one was probably the most impactful, just because that was the one that was shown the most. Outside of that, man, Google, YouTube, again, that museum is. I would recommend, if anybody gets a chance to go to DC, if you're ever there, go to that museum. You will learn a lot.
Yeah. How has having AJ made you want to dive into that more?
Yeah, because I want to be able to. I don't want him to wait till he's 30-some years old to know that, you know, Jackie Robinson actually wasn't the first black professional baseball player.
Ah.
It was Moses Fleetwood, but that was before, you know, segregation. Now Jackie Robinson, you know, did it during segregation, which that's what most people highlight, which is cool. But like, I didn't know that until maybe a couple years ago that it was Moses Fleetwood. But just things like that, and you know, maybe it benefits him or not, or maybe he doesn't even care. But just some of those facts, and then just knowing, I want him to know where we came from. You know, how this all started, how far we've come, and you know, to be able to sit in this room together. There was a point we weren't allowed in the same room, and I want him to know about that stuff. So it has changed because I don't want him to be the kid that's like lost. You know, I think it's important for us to know our history, and so I'm gonna try to help him do that.
So what kind of legacy do you want to leave for your black student athletes?
Man, I keep going back to it, man. I just want all those guys to know that they can be the light in any room, whether that's with love, whether that's with a smile, whatever it is. I want to be able to leave that. I want them, if I ever leave here, if I go somewhere else, and I don't want anybody to ever feel like, I want them all to like remember me being the light. Because that's my goal every day, is to try to be the light. And hopefully that inspires some of these guys to be the light. Like, leave an impact on the room when you leave it better than you found it. It's a lot of darkness and hate in the world, but the only thing that beats darkness is light, man. So just that, man, being the light.
Yeah.
You're a very well-rounded coach, I would say. You know, you represent
Thanks.
your religion, you spend a lot of time with your family, but you're also a great coach as well. So what is your advice to young coaches growing up that, like, they don't have to just be football all the time?
I don't even know if the way I'm doing it is right, because there are a lot of people that are crazy about football, which is great. I think you just got to find out what's important to you, what's most important to you, and prioritize that. And it's hard to find balance. It's so hard to find balance. And I'm glad you guys think I'm doing a good job in all these areas. I always feel like I'm not doing enough in every one, because as I pour into one, there's something else that's I'm taking away from. So it's just trying to balance it as best as you can. You know, it's not going to always be whatever 50-50 or equally split throughout all those areas, but any opportunity you can get to balance it, do it. Again, with the DC thing, I got a chance to speak in DC. It was Valentine's Day weekend. I'm like, you want to go? Yeah. And Chris was out there with me, and I was able to speak, but I was also able to spend time with her. So finding any opportunity to balance it as best as you can, that would be my advice.
So as we have all these new transfers coming in, they're coming into your room. How do you show them what the culture is like here?
Yeah, hopefully I don't have to even talk about it. I think with the room that we have, great room. And a lot of times I don't even have to say things, like they kind of uphold it and they show kind of how it's supposed to go. And those are the best rooms, you know, when a coach doesn't even have to say anything. So I think with them just being here for a little minute of time, they'll be able to see how things go. They'll be able to see how we interact. I plan on having them over sometime this week. They'll be able to see how I am with my family. And so I think it's just, I don't even think I'll have to tell them a lot of the stuff. I think they'll just pick it up, you know, just being around us.
Last question for me. Throughout your coaching history, are there moments where you saw an athlete have a breakthrough, or conversations you had that you look back at that moment and you're like, yes, this is why I'm coaching?
So many. There's been a lot. At every stop, at every spot that I've coached, there's been at least one or two guys that, you know, that have had that breakthrough. When I was at Idaho State, remember Mike Davis was one of them. He was having a really hard time academically and just with some other things. And we had a lot of individual meetings, and we spent a lot of time. And I just remember him, like, when he was excited because I think he made Dean's List or whatever. And I remember when I left, he wrote me this letter. I still have the letter. This was years ago. He wrote me a letter before I left, and I still get emotional just thinking about that letter. Like, it was him. It was a couple guys there, a couple guys at Eastern Washington when I was there. And then same with here. there's guys that, that aren't here anymore, but, I had really big, we impacted each other. This is a two-way street. A lot of these dudes I learned from them too, and they've helped me grow as coaches, as a coach and just as a man and dealing with different things. So, no, there's a lot of different breakthroughs on and off the field, whether it's academically or guys that, Brandon Ramirez. Brandon Ramirez's story, I tell him all the time how proud I am of him because I was in that room. I remember me in his conversation, and to be able to see where he is now and how much he's contributed, and it's awesome to see, man. It's awesome to see. So, for sure.
He's going to have a big year.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks for sitting
Appreciate
down with
it.
us today.
Yep. All good.
And we'll see you next time on the pod.